I rise on a point of order. I have informed the Prime Minister and the leadership of the Liberal Party caucus that I will be sitting as an independent at the conclusion of these remarks. Mr. Speaker, I'm in your hands as to what happens next. To all my colleagues in the Parliament, media reports today quoting unverified and anonymous sources have attacked my reputation and called into questions my loyalty to Canada. Let me be clear. What has been reported is false, and I will defend myself against these absolutely untrue claims. But let me assure you, as a parliamentarian and as a person, I have never, and I will never, would never advocate or support the violation of the basic human rights of any Canadian, of anyone, anywhere, period. The accusations are false. My family came to Canada for freedom. I have had the privilege of being elected to this House, and I believe I have served honorably and pledge to continue to serve honorably and fulfill my oath of office. I will continue to serve the residents of Don Valley North as an independent member of this House. I'm taking this extraordinary step because sitting the government caucus is a privilege, and my presence there may be seen by some as a conflict of duty and the wrong place to be as an independent investigation pursues the facts in this matter. I will be sitting as an independent so that business of government and indeed the business of Parliament is not interrupted as I work to clear my name and the truth is presented to Parliament and to Canadian people. I am a proud Liberal, and I am proud of the work our government does day in and day out to serve the people of Canada. I also don't want to distract from that important work. Before concluding, I want to assure Mr. Michael Spavert and Mr. Michael Covert and their families that I did nothing to cause them any harm. Like everyone in this House, I worked hard and advocated for their interest as a parliamentarian. The allegations made against me are as false as the ones made against you. To my constituents, I will continue to work on your behalf as your Member of Parliament. To my staff, I thank you. I know the days ahead will be difficult, but I will be there to support you as we continue to serve the people of Don Valley North. To my family, and in particular, my parents, who brought us here to Canada. To my wife, Sophie, and my kids, I love you. I thank you for all the support and love you gave me. The truth will protect us. Our honor and our family will get through this together. Sorry about that. Thank you, Speaker.
Wow, what a shame that speech wasn't done before the Academy Awards of 2 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Why didn't he do this 3 weeks ago when all these allegations started swirling? He only does it after he's credibly accused of advocating for the prolonged incarceration of 2 innocent Canadians at the hands of the CCP. And we should go back a little bit because my little notepad is just full of notes watching that. And I watched it last night and I took notes when I watched it last night, but I took some more again today of things I want to say, but we should go back a little bit. And if you were living under a rock, or if you're wise enough to not pay attention to the mainstream media every day, you might not know the full story. But across Canada, there are approximately 11 ridings, I'm sure there are more, where the Liberal government is credibly accused of benefiting from Chinese communist interference. We know in the lower mainland of BC that Kenny Chiu and Alice Wong lost their seats thanks to the CCP organizing on WeChat, which is a Chinese social media app, to get rid of the two of them, because the two of them, although ethnically Chinese, are proud freedom-loving Canadians, and even worse, they're conservative. Yeah. So the Liberals were perfectly happy to reap the benefits of foreign meddling, which they literally won't shut up about, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second, as long as it helped them win their seats. You know, anytime the Liberals tell you, oh, all those people are benefiting, oh, those people over there, those conservatives are benefiting from Russia, blah, 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 it's definitely not that. It's them distracting from them receiving the benefits of foreign meddling. So we know 11 ridings. One of those is Don Valley North, or as David Menzies said in the morning meeting, the People's Republic of Don Valley North, with Liberal MP Han Dong. Now, Han Dong, it's no big deal because he investigated himself and found no wrongdoing, because he has been credibly accused by a leaker from CSIS who said that his nomination was contaminated by Chinese influence. The CCP operatives were putting pressure on people to vote for him in the nomination, telling foreign students, you better go vote for him or we're going to revoke your visas. They were busing in elderly Chinese senior citizens with Han Dong's name written on their arm. So that I'm not even making this up. It's so blatant.
No, I know.
So that they knew who to vote for when he got there. And then it comes out late last night. Well, not late last night, but sort of yesterday morning. But the news really picked up steam and went to the top of the mountain peak that he just jumped off of, that he put pressure on a Chinese diplomat, Han Dong being he, on a Chinese diplomat to continue the unlawful incarceration of two innocent Canadians kidnapped by the Chinese state, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, because if those two innocent men were released from their chains, that it would benefit the Conservatives in the lead up to the last election.
Right.
If I were the families of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, I would want to physically attack this man. I'm not a violent person. The only person I want to do any sort of physical violence to is maybe Dylan Mulvaney, and only I want to arm wrestle him. And if I win, he gets fed up. Like, that's it. But I would want to grab that man and throttle him within an inch of his life. And all of this, none of this would be coming out now if this man had resigned 3 weeks ago, but whatever compromise he's got on the Liberals allowed him to stay on this long. And I think this is just the tip of the CCP iceberg. We've got now at least 11 other ridings where similar things could happen as what we just saw here.
And, you know, Sheila, what I'm fascinated with is the evolution of this story going back some 3 weeks ago. Because right off the bat, Blackface said, if you criticize an Asian Canadian, you are therefore racist. This coming from a guy that's donned blackface so often, he doesn't even know how many times. So it went from that to, and then Blackface saw the media wasn't giving up on this. It wasn't a 24-hour news cycle story. So he said, all right, I'm banning federal government employees from using TikTok on their phones. Are you happy now? Is that enough anti-China for you? No. So then it went from that to a special rapporteur, not a garden variety one, not an off-the-rack one, but a special one. And Sheila, you know, a lot of people are confused, as was I when I first heard this term. I'd never heard it before, special rapporteur. Well, what is that? It's a fancy couple of words to say an advisor. That's what David Johnson...
The UN sends these people out all the time. Special rapporteur on human rights, and then they just come, they get some, I think I'm frozen up. They come, they get a photo opportunity, and then they just leave. And that's all they do. And I think that very similar, that's what's going to happen here.
By the way, please don't look too far behind the curtain, because Johnson, who will be investigating Dong, is actually a family friend of the Trudeaus. They went skiing together. They have, I guess, chalets that are next door. Unbelievable. And by the way, I should have mentioned, Sheila, in the Sunday Sun, Warren Kinsella has a column. Now, Warren Kinsella is a diehard liberal, as well as the master of the smear job.
Yeah, he's as oily as they come.
100%. But he bleeds liberal red. And he said that Johnson should have recused the gig of being the special rapporteur. So it's not just conservatives having a meltdown about this. It's diehard liberals like Warren Kinsella, for goodness sake. So anyways, so first you're a racist, then a special rapporteur, and then finally he's going to remove himself from caucus and sit like an independent. And why wasn't that done in the first place with Vincent Ka? That's immediately what he did. He is the progressive conservative member of provincial parliament for Don Valley North. And by the way, Don Valley, and their offices, Sheila, are about 4 football fields apart. What is it with Don Valley North? All these, Chinese government infiltrated candidates, allegedly. But he immediately sat as an independent. And we must point out, because there's so much blame that's circling right now, it's just broke the other day in the Globe and Mail that the Doug Ford government was advised by CSIS last fall, which begins, in my books, September 21st, I believe, that Vincent Ka had some luggage to contend with, but he didn't step down until just like a week and a half ago. And like you said, Sheila, there are more liberal ridings where I think this interference has occurred. Ex-conservative leader Aaron O'Toole has said at least 8 or 9 conservative seats were vanquished thanks to Chinese interference. So, as I've always said about this, it is Watergate. Yes, Watergate on steroids, and perhaps human growth hormone as well. This is going to get worse and worse. It's not going to go away. And it would kind of be, I'm very fascinated to see what Jagmeet Singh is going to do in the House. Is he going to continue to chastise the Liberal Party of Canada on social media and in the media and in the press, only to prop them up by votes? I mean, my God, if these most recent allegations don't grow a spine in the NDP leader, I don't know what will, Sheila.
Well, and let's just go back to Doug Ford for a second. I don't know why that man is getting a pass on the things we've been hammering Justin Trudeau on. So Doug Ford gets a briefing on his MPP's problems with possibly being the beneficiary of foreign influence and does nothing. And everyone's like, well, but at the same time, everyone is losing their minds, rightfully, might I add, that Justin Trudeau in 2019, all the top Liberal Party brass got a briefing and saying Han Dong is basically a Chinese operative at this point. What are you going to do about it? And Justin Trudeau intervened to save his nomination. And the worst part is, this is a safe Liberal riding. They could have put any Liberal there. They wanted Han Dong because I think they wanted the help in those other ridings, like Kenny Chu's, like Alice Wong's from the CCP. So they were willing to put in the CCP's guy in the People's Republic of Don Valley North, even though it was a riding that they could have killed his nomination and put a different Liberal in, and the Liberals still would have won because they wanted to show the Chinese, we got you. We'll put your man in there, but we're going to need some help in the Lower Mainland. And I think that's exactly what happened. But getting back to Han Dong's speech there, I don't think
Sheila,
he read it.
Before you do, because I want to follow through on something you just said,
Sure,
how Doug Ford is getting a pass. And you're absolutely right. Jim Karahalios this morning sent out an email blast where he noted that at Queen's Park, neither the Liberals or the NDPers or the Greens are saying anything about this. The silence is deafening. Now, why wouldn't you? This is a potential scandal that you've had an MPP put in power thanks to Chinese interference. And, it's so sad to me, Sheila, that we don't have at least one independent MPP, like a candidate with the New Blue Party, to raise these questions, because why would the opposition be so timid to condemn Doug Ford about this? I think they've all maybe got skeletons in their closet when it comes to this issue. Yeah.
Bingo. Exactly. That's exactly it. And the media in and around there is pretty contaminated by Justin Trudeau money. So it's hard to hammer Doug Ford on this because he's a so-called conservative, I guess in name only. If your guy in the House of Commons is doing the exact same thing, right? Your paymaster is doing that at the federal level. Kind of hard to hammer the local guy for that kind of thing. But going back to Han Dong's statement there, from what I understand, his phone actually rang in the middle of that statement. I wonder if that was Beijing on the phone saying, "What are you doing, Han? What are you doing?" But
Ding dong.
I don't think he actually read that statement before he read it. Like, I don't think he wrote it. I think it was handed to him probably by Katie Telford. And they said, okay, get up, read this immediately, because things were getting pretty ugly yesterday. And it was the blubbering. I think the blubbering is what got to me.
You don't think those were genuine tears? Well, Sheila.
Well, I think they were, but not for the reason we think they were, or like that people would say that they were.
Can you see this? Can you see this item in my hand?
What is it?
It's a tiny little case, and inside it
is a harmonica?
The world's smallest violin. And I'll play it. Oh, solo mio. Enough of that.
It's the blubbering as a woman sort of really gets to me. It just makes your ovaries just turn to dust. I can't. I think, like, he is an operative, I'll just say it, allegedly, of the Chinese state. And he just listed all of his family that are probably going to be the focus of Chinese strong arming going forward. We know that they can get him elected. They can do other terrible, terrible things to his friends and family. But that's the deal you make when you make a deal with the devil, isn't it?
Well, indeed. And Sheila, can we now finally cut to the chase, as they say in Hollywood? Forget the special rapporteur with blackface's family friend. Can we have a legitimate public inquiry? Can we have a police investigation?
Thank you.
Where the hell are the RCMP? I know you're really busy, guys, at Roxham Road, turning into a bellhop service, but maybe you ought to look at this kind of interference by foreign governments in Canada. Even before this special rapporteur, delivers his report, because we know there's an investigation at CSIS. Who's the whistleblower? This is Blackface's version of getting to the bottom of things. He wants to know who was singing like a canary, as opposed to the scandal itself, Sheila.
Yeah, and I think it's just so ironic, right? The Liberals who won't shut up about protecting the integrity of our democracy, and those truckers were a Kremlin-led operation, with like zero evidence of that whatsoever. But all they were trying to do was point the finger in that direction, because they were actually being directed out of Beijing. So this completely organic human rights movement, the Freedom Convoy, for the Liberals, it actually made sense to them that it was a Kremlin-led operation, because they're a Beijing-led operation. So it's not a far leap for them.
100%. And again, to analyze his words in that 4-minute clip, Sheila, when Dong started talking about, fighting for the human rights of Canadians, brushing off the fact that he had anything to do with increasing the incarceration time of the two Michaels. Yeah, this is a guy talking about being a champion for human rights. Why was it, Sheila, that Mr. Dong at the last second, left the House of Commons twice when there were two motions to condemn the Chinese Communist Party for the ongoing genocide of the Uyghur people in China, in his home country. Why did he do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I almost forgot about that in all the Han-Dong scandals. I had forgotten that there were signals that this was happening all along. All we had to do is pay attention to it. And yes, indeed, he did pop out of 2 votes to condemn China for its genocide of the Uyghur Muslims and Turkic minorities in China. And one of those was a liberal introduced motion.
Yes.
He couldn't, like, he was more loyal to the CCP than his own party, despite his stupid red tie. He left. And if we were paying attention, we might have noticed that. And anybody who didn't vote in that motion should be under some pretty serious scrutiny right now.
And, I would love to see somebody in the Ottawa press gallery grow a set and ask a question they should have been asking for the past decade, that given all this baggage thanks to China, it's not just the interference in our elections, Sheila. It's not just the ongoing genocide of the Uyghur people. It's not just the fact that the Wuhan virus originated out of China and cost, almost 7 million lives these past few years, and untold trillions of economic damage. Does Prime Minister Justin Blackface Trudeau still admire the basic dictatorship of China, which is what he said in Toronto in 2013 before he became Prime Minister? Why isn't anyone asking him that, Sheila?
Mark Gerretsen, I got to tell you, I always say when I list the MPs of the Liberals, or when I talk about them, that this one is the stupidest one, or this one is the stupidest one. Like, for example, quite frequently, I accuse Seamus O'Regan of being the stupidest MP in Parliament. But Mark Gerretsen, boy, he put on his running shoes and he's coming around the corner. He's really catching up to Seamus O'Regan because he is terrible at Twitter. And he weighed in on the controversy of Katie Telford being called to testify at the House Affairs Committee to discuss election interference. Look at this. So Mark Gerretsen, you know what? I think today he wins dumbest. He says, I think it's unacceptable to demand staff appear before committee. The only chiefs of staff to come forward before committee, to my knowledge, this is where it's because you don't have any knowledge, Mark, have been after they're out of politics. Having said this, I appreciate Katie Telford's willingness to do whatever necessary after 3 weeks of filibustering to make Parliament work, even if that means breaking a 300-year-old tradition, as said by Pierre Poilievre when he refused to send staff in 2010. But that's not true, because chiefs of staff have they've testified in the past. It's just that Mark is not a very smart man.
What does he mean, Sheila, by a 300-year-old tradition? Because our country is just a little over 150 years old.
Dumb man. He's
Did he multiply by 2 or something?
He is, like, between him, Seamus O'Regan, and Omar Al-Jabra,
the Goblin.
Those 3 are like the Goblin.
The Hog
They
Goblin.
are just, I know, they're just the stupidest people.
Don't forget Pinocchio, or Mendocino. He has to be up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's really dumb too. See, this is the problem. Anytime I talk about them, I'm like, no, that guy's the dumbest. That guy's the dumbest. I think, though, maybe the dumbest will always be Catherine McKenna, who's gone on to work for the United Nations. So,
wow. They really fail upwards, these people, don't they, Sheila?
Oh, well, and as like Twitter had to put a warning label on his tweet, that one that we just read, by the way. I was just looking out of the corner of my eye.
Oh.
So it says readers added more context they thought people might want to know, thanks to Twitter. Thank you, Elon Musk, by the way, for making Twitter more fun.
The new and improved Twitter.
Okay, so readers added, Telford has actually testified multiple times. She testified during the Wee scandal and the Vance investigation. And there was actually bipartisan support to have her testify. So not only is it not a 300-year-old tradition in our under 200-year old country, but Telford herself has previously testified in, I suppose, other liberal scandals that we lost track of over the last 7 years.
And Sheila, to me, that speaks of how huge this scandal really is. But you know what? I got to tell you, my friend, I'm not hopeful at all about her testimony, because I think almost every question is going to be answered with one of two answers, which is, I don't know, or I cannot release that information based on national security concerns. You mark my words, it is going to be the biggest nothing burger that this woman delivers.
Oh, we should just finish up one little thing on the China file, and then we should hit an ad break, because we're 35 minutes in to a 1 hour show and we haven't done an ad break, and I can already hear the complaints coming my way. So it's from Blacklocks on the federal government blacklist of Freedom Convoy sympathizers. It was emailed to foreign banks. So the blacklist of the Convoy supporters didn't just happen here in Canada. Financial institutions, insurers, even Farm Credit Canada, what a disgrace you people are, that were canceling people's accounts or denying them credit in the case of Farm Credit Canada, or canceling their insurance, seizing their bank accounts. It went further than that. So the Liberals emailed people's financial information and their names as enemies of the state. This is an enemies of the state list, by the way. And they sent it to foreign banks on Wall Street and, of course, Beijing. So this came out, this is an order paper question that came back from Arnold Viersen, really great conservative MP in Northern Alberta. And he wanted information on just who the Liberals shared your political leanings with in an attempt to get you canceled. And it went as far as Wells Fargo, the Bank of China, the State Bank of India, Citibank of New York, the Habib Bank of Pakistan, Hana Financial Group of South Korea, another bank in India, another bank in Japan. It gets crazy. All these people know your political leanings now. That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.